I received an invitation from my former girlfriend to her nuptials, seemingly with the goal of embarrassing me by flaunting her wealthy new fiancé. In response, I decided to bring a particular individual as my guest, and by the evening's conclusion, she was in tears, her marriage effectively finished. Despite her outbursts, I remained composed, reminding her that every individual has unique requirements. Ben, evidently from a privileged background, might not prioritize his professional life as I do. I confessed my fondness for my career and suggested that if she desired a partner like Ben, she should be with him. I asserted that we should cease our dispute and that she should vacate our shared residence at her earliest convenience. Her eyes widened, questioning my capacity to cover the rent solo. I elucidated that I had been granted a salary increment, enabling me to shoulder the full rental cost without housemates. Upon hearing this, she began vociferating, accusing me of attempting to impress her. She declared Ben's superior wealth, highlighting his possession of a home purchased by his father. She continued to insist on my need for personal transformation and increased compliance. She then scoffed, stating that ultimately, women sought a stay-at-home husband, not one with greater earning potential. At this juncture, I demanded her silence, weary of nocturnal altercations. I granted her until the month's end to relocate, permitting her to utilize the sofa until then. I could still perceive her murmurs, but I disregarded them, returning to my slumber. Fortunately, throughout the week, Lily commenced packing and gradually removing her possessions. I found myself increasingly exhilarated by the prospect of solely occupying the entire dwelling. On her final evening, returning home, I was startled to discover Lily and Ben seated on our couch. I regarded her with curiosity, and she notified me that, given her impending departure, she wished to showcase her abode to Ben. I was incredulous at her temerity in bringing another man to this location without my consent, aware of my imminent return. I refrained from rudeness towards Ben, deeming it not his transgression. I offered him a courteous greeting, but to my astonishment, he regarded me with disdain, neglecting to even recognize my presence. I chose to disregard it and proceeded to refresh myself. Later, while preparing pasta in the kitchen, Ben approached for water. He observed me for a moment, inducing a sense of awkwardness. I inquired if he required anything, but he replicated his prior contemptuous gaze. I opted to overlook his presence, continuing my cooking to subsequently retreat to the bedroom for a peaceful meal. Upon finishing my dinner, preparing to descend, I incidentally heard Lily and Ben conversing. Ben was expressing to Lily her fortune in having secured a superior partner after associating with someone resembling me. I was momentarily stunned, hearing Lily's laughter and concurrence. Ben then questioned her initial attraction to me, prompting Lily to utter something utterly devastating. She admitted to exploiting me, capitalizing on my perceived naivete to finance our outings and provide her with loans during our college years. She further divulged that I had subsidized over half of the rent for the preceding years, facilitating her considerable savings. I was in disbelief. I had long harbored suspicions of her leveraging my benevolent nature to contribute disproportionately to the rent, but I was unaware of her manipulation from the outset. Ben and she then proceeded to discuss our relationship, essentially deriding me in every aspect. I was on the verge of tears due to the humiliation, but I refused to let them witness my distress, discreetly returning upstairs and spending the night in silent tears. The following morning, upon awakening, Lily and Ben had departed. She had collected the remainder of her belongings, officially vacating. I ambled through the house in a daze, cognizant of my newfound liberation. I cannot adequately articulate the sense of lightness I experienced, knowing she was definitively gone from my life and this residence. I shed tears of joy, dancing around the house, then embarked on a thorough cleaning, eradicating any trace of her presence. Over the ensuing weeks, I relished my solitary existence. I had ceased to dwell on Lily and Ben's remarks. All proceeded smoothly until 2 months later, when a shared acquaintance at work informed me of Lily's impending marriage to Ben. I was taken aback by the suddenness. Our friend displayed their engagement photographs, depicting apparent bliss. While experiencing a pang of sorrow for Lily's past exploitation, I also acknowledged that I would never have found contentment with her. Consequently, I was glad she had discovered someone capable of fulfilling her desires. That same evening, upon returning home and inspecting my mailbox, I encountered an unforeseen wedding invitation. My eyes widened in disbelief, recognizing it as originating from Lily and Ben. I initially suspected an error, perhaps a courteous gesture, until I unfolded the invitation and noticed her scribbled note in the corner. Inscribed within the card was, "I desire your presence at my wedding to witness the opulent life I shall share with Ben." It gradually dawned on me that her invitation was solely motivated by a desire to flaunt her marriage, her affluent partner, and her newfound prosperity. I inhaled deeply, attempting to comprehend her rationale for dispatching such an invitation, given my years of care and support. The pent-up resentment and frustration surged within me, compelling me to seek a measure of retribution. I RSVP'd affirmatively, a scheme formulating in my mind, determined to make Lily rue her invitation. I accessed my laptop, perusing Ben's social media. I meticulously examined every photograph he had ever posted. Fortuitously, I located my objective. 6 months prior, Ben had terminated his relationship with his former girlfriend, Jessica. He had numerous posts featuring her, their photographs dating back to their high school years, indicating a prolonged relationship. I dispatched a friend request to Jessica, and upon her acceptance, I messaged her. Surprisingly, she replied, initiating a conversation. I candidly disclosed my identity as Lily's former partner and outlined my intention to invite her as my plus one to the wedding. She exhibited intrigue, questioning my outreach. I elucidated the entirety of the situation. Over the following weeks, Jessica revealed Ben's multiple infidelities, his latest affair involving Lily. This was novel information to me. She further disclosed Ben's proclivity for younger women, rendering his declaration of love for Lily, while still involved with her, unsurprising. Their separation had been acrimonious, resulting in her blocking him on all platforms, despite his suggestion of maintaining a friendship. Her discourse regarding Ben suggested lingering affection. I reciprocated, recounting my own experiences with Lily, her exploitation, and the subsequent mockery by Ben and Lily. I bared my soul, detailing Lily's mistreatment and their derision. Jessica was appalled by Lily's behavior and commentary. After hearing everything, she consented to accompany me. I felt a surge of anticipation, envisioning my ex and Ben's expressions upon witnessing my arrival with Jessica. On the wedding day, as anticipated, Lily's eyes widened upon observing my entrance with my special guest. She undoubtedly recognized Jessica as Ben's former partner. We disregarded her reactions, locating our assigned seating. Lily approached, whispering angrily, questioning my presence with Ben's ex. I merely smiled. She was unable to create a disturbance, reluctantly returning to the aisle, regarding me with ire. When the groom made his entrance, everyone rose. Ben appeared dashing in his tuxedo, escorted by his father. The ceremony proceeded uneventfully, the celebration transitioning to the reception area. Ben must have changed, as he donned a different suit upon entering the area. Following the ceremony, Jessica and I maintained a low profile throughout the reception, ignoring Lily's glares and Ben's evident displeasure. I knew she yearned to confront us, but she couldn't risk a scene at her own wedding. I observed the unfolding events with a sense of inner contentment, aware of the burgeoning impact of my presence. During the toasts, Lily finally succumbed to her restraint. Approaching us amidst the distraction, she hissed through gritted teeth. "What are you two doing here? Do you genuinely believe you can disrupt my special day?" Jessica, with an equally sardonic smile, preempted my response. "Oh, Lily dear, we are not here to disrupt. We are here to celebrate. It is, after all, a momentous occasion, is it not?" Lily was on the precipice of losing her composure, but I interjected before she could utter something potentially attracting attention. "Let us maintain appearances, Lily. You wouldn't want your husband to discover your lingering obsession with me, would you?" Her eyes flashed with fury, but she pivoted, returning to Ben, who remained oblivious. Throughout the remainder of the party, Jessica and I consciously projected an image of enjoyment, laughing together and exchanging knowing glances. It wasn't entirely feigned. While initiated as a vengeful scheme, I genuinely began to appreciate Jessica's company. She was astute, witty, and above all, empathetic to my experiences. Then, an unforeseen event occurred. While dancing, I noticed Ben approaching Jessica. He appeared agitated, and I soon discerned they were engaged in a hushed argument. Moving closer discreetly, I overheard Ben uttering, "Why are you here with him? This is irrelevant to you. We are finished, remember?" Jessica laughed, but it was a bitter laugh. "We are finished because you were unfaithful, Ben, remember? And now you expect me to be concerned with whom I associate?" I observed from a distance as Ben struggled to maintain his composure. Jessica was not facilitating matters, and I recognized that this was unsettling him. That's when I decided to escalate the situation. I procured a glass of champagne, approaching the microphone utilized for toasts. "Apologies for the interruption," I commenced with a smile. All eyes turned towards me, including those of Lily and Ben, who appeared incredulous. "I merely wish to express my gratitude to the bride, Lily, for inviting me to this momentous event." I paused, relishing the palpable tension. For those unfamiliar, I am her former partner, and I am genuinely pleased to witness her finding a man capable of providing the life she has always envisioned. By the way, Ben, congratulations on your acquisition. I mean, your marriage. The room descended into an awkward silence, guests exchanging uncertain glances, and Lily appeared on the verge of tears, while Ben clenched his fists, barely suppressing his anger. But I was not finished. "I would also like to propose a toast to honesty and transparency in relationships." I raised my glass, gazing directly at Ben and Lily. "May you never experience their absence, as I did." I took a deliberate sip, smiling mockingly. At this point, Ben was incensed. He slammed down his glass, charging towards me, but mutual acquaintances intervened, restraining him. "You have overstepped," he shouted, while I maintained my smile. "You believe this is amusing? You believe you can simply arrive here and disrupt our day?" I met his gaze, remaining composed. "I have disrupted nothing, Ben. I am merely here to observe the outcome when one cannot purchase respect or affection." As he struggled against those restraining him, Lily commenced sobbing, tears cascading down her face, shouting at Ben, "Why are you attending to him? This is our day, Ben, not his." But the subsequent event was even more unexpected. Jessica, who had remained silently by my side, stepped forward, proclaiming loudly in front of everyone, "You know, Ben, you deserve this, because I vividly recall your toying with my emotions while you were already pursuing Lily." Her words reverberated through the room, the guests now witnessing an unforeseen spectacle. Ben, speechless, regarded Jessica with a mixture of anger and surprise. At that moment, Lily, consumed by desperation, began yelling, "I should never have invited you, you ungrateful ingrate. I merely intended to demonstrate that I am better off without you." I merely shrugged, replying, "And I wish to ascertain whether you truly were. Apparently, you still have something to prove to me." By now, venue security was approaching, but Jessica and I were prepared to depart. As we proceeded towards the exit, I could hear Lily and Ben's shouting echoing through the hall. The fairy tale wedding she had envisioned had devolved into a catastrophe, and in a way, I felt gratified to have offered her a glimpse of what she had attempted to inflict upon me. On our departure, Jessica turned to me, inquiring, "Do you believe we exceeded the bounds?" I chuckled softly, responding, "I believe we went precisely as far as necessary." In the ensuing days, rumors circulated that Ben and Lily had engaged in a significant altercation, their marriage already precarious. She was desperately attempting to maintain appearances, but everyone was aware that their marriage had commenced disastrously. And although I recognized this might render me somewhat vindictive, I couldn't help but feel that, for the first time in a long while, I had attained a sense of justice. Following the wedding debacle, Jessica and I departed the venue with a sense of fulfillment. We resumed our lives, but I couldn't help but wonder about the future of Lily and Ben after that calamitous night. Naturally, the gossip soon reached me via mutual acquaintances, unknowingly fueling my curiosity. In the initial days after the wedding, an illusion of calm prevailed, a facade Ben and Lily diligently maintained on social media, posting cheerful photographs and attending social gatherings as if all were well. However, I knew Lily sufficiently to recognize that her smiling countenance concealed an impending tempest. That tempest arrived sooner and more forcefully than anticipated. Shortly thereafter, I learned that their honeymoon was an utter failure. Ben, who had remained silent during the wedding scandal, erupted in anger upon their plane's arrival at their chosen exotic destination. He could not dispel the humiliation of confronting Jessica and me from his mind, the loser he and Lily had so frequently disparaged. They quarreled throughout the trip. Every dinner, every outing, the tension was palpable. Ben accused Lily of intentionally inviting Jessica and me, while Lily wept, attempting to defend herself, insisting she merely wished to demonstrate her progress. He labeled her selfish, claiming she prioritized only herself, unable to comprehend her recklessness in nearly jeopardizing her own reputation on their wedding day. Upon their return, matters deteriorated further. Ben, initially seemingly unconcerned with finances, began pressuring Lily to contribute more to their expenses, now burdened by the extravagant wedding and honeymoon. The romance swiftly dissipated, each day bringing a new dispute regarding money, contributions, and their future. Then, one day, a mutual acquaintance contacted me, eager to relay the latest news. Lily had returned to her parents' residence after a fight so intense that neighbors nearly summoned the police. "You won't believe this," he said, struggling to contain his excitement. "They are practically separated, and from what I heard, he is the one who expelled her." I attempted to feign disinterest, but I couldn't suppress a smile of satisfaction upon learning that Ben, the seemingly perfect, wealthy individual, was now alone in the house his father had purchased, while Lily was compelled to return to the very place she had striven to escape, her parents' home, lacking the financial independence she had amassed during our time together, while I subsidized more than half of her rent. A few weeks later, I discovered that Ben had encountered old messages from Lily detailing her exploitation of my generosity to accumulate savings during our relationship. This was the final catalyst for him. "She used me just as she used you," he purportedly confided to a friend who maintained contact with both. The humiliation he experienced during the wedding, now compounded by the realization that perhaps he was not so dissimilar from me in her eyes, left Ben feeling betrayed, and Lily, seeing the marriage unsalvageable, descended into despair. Around that time, Lily initiated attempts to contact me. Initially, it was simple messages, as if seeking clarification regarding the wedding events. Then came the incessant phone calls, her weeping, claiming ignorance of her next steps, Ben having left her destitute. I disregarded every attempt, blocking each new number she employed. I had already fulfilled my role. She had used me, humiliated me, and attempted to trample me, but now she was foundering independently. One day, leaving work, I encountered Jessica, and we proceeded for coffee. She invariably possessed the latest updates before I did. "Did you hear that Ben listed the house for sale?" she inquired with a mischievous smile. It appears things did not unfold as he anticipated, and apparently, his parents are displeased with his handling of the situation. I believe he has lost their financial backing. I couldn't help but laugh. The once untouchable Ben, in his privileged position, was now endeavoring to sell the house he had utilized to impress Lily. I recognized that his downfall was not entirely my doing, but I couldn't help but feel that my presence at that wedding had ignited the subsequent chain of events. The months elapsed, and Lily ceased her attempts to contact me. She seemed to have finally realized that she could gain nothing further from me. As for myself, I savored every moment of my new life. My career was flourishing, and solitary living provided precisely what I needed to initiate a fresh start. One night, while watching a film, I received a message from Jessica. She had encountered a lengthy social media post from Lily, discussing lessons learned and the significance of valuing those by one's side. It was clearly a remorseful message, an attempt to portray herself as the victim after all she had done. I simply laughed, replying to Jessica, "Some individuals never change." And deep down, I knew that even if Lily attempted to rewrite her narrative, I had ultimately emerged victorious. She had sought to humiliate me, but she ended up sinking in her own hubris. Ben, who entered her life as the grand prize, had become a persistent reminder that appearances are ephemeral. And as for me, I moved forward, liberated from the burden of both, with the gratification of knowing that the most effective vengeance was observing their relationship crumble without my intervention, beyond accepting that fateful invitation.